This is pretty much your rudder. And how we're going to disconnect that, you see it just falls onto there, onto the gudgeons, and then it has, and be very careful, this pin right here that will hold it in place. So you remove the pin and you will just lift it up. This is very heavy, so make sure you understand that when you're picking it up you might need some little assistance, especially if you're trying to pick it up from the bow. Always put this on dry land because you don't want to drop this. It's well over $1,000 here. So I'm going to remove this pin and lift it right out. So now the pin is removed. Now this pin was old and it was about time to replace it anyway. And what I have for you is another pin. So all you would do is place this in here and then bend these tabs back to keep it in place. And then this will be in a Ziploc bag. We will now just lift this right up. Also, don't forget to disconnect my tiller clutch here, which is pretty simple. Disconnect it from that side, untie it from this side. As you can see, it's just tied right here. So you just tie it and then use that other cinching latch on the other side. So I'm simply just untying this for the tiller clutch. And here is now your whole rudder and tiller assembly taken off the boat. Again, you would just place them right back here and then put your pin in here. Pretty simple. Now in place of where the tiller was, we put our mast crutch. I mean, this pretty much will hold the mast up once I lower it. And it just pops right on the... We are now going to take off the boom. It's going to be very simple. Remember when working, never step on the sliding hatch. Never step on any sliding hatches of any sailboats because you'll fall right through. It's okay to step on that, but not here. Just a little clue. But what we're going to do is we're going to move it here. This is the main sheet, and down there. We then will move the boom vane from the boom and the mast, base of the mast, and then also the boom kicker. Very simple. Then I'll show you how to disconnect the boom from the gooseneck. When you're disconnecting things from the sailboat, you want them loose, not tight. That way it's easier to manage. You have plenty of room. And you'll see this is a basic setup of how to disconnect anything. You'll take this little pin out, or little, forgot what you call these things here. Looks like a keychain thing. Out, pull the pin, and it'll come right out. Since we still have our top lifting stay connected, which is, remember, is the rope that goes up there and keeps this boom up. You don't need it usually because I've installed the boom kicker, which supports the boom. But since we still have it, tighten it up to relieve pressure, so while we disconnect everything, it won't fall down. Also remember, don't have anyone underneath it. So just in case it does fall, you don't want anyone to get hit in the head or anything else beneath it. Now to disconnect these, you see the boom vane's much easier. All you gotta do is unscrew the pin. On the actual boom kicker, it's another setup where you remove the little pin holder and then move the pin, and it connects right here, but it's adjustable just for future reference. The boom kicker it is. The boom vane will connect to here. Down here at the base, you see there'll be a little slot for the boom kicker, and then the actual boom vane, my mind went blank there, connects to one of the holes at the mast step. Very simple. So now we have the boom vane off. Remember, this is the top, and this is the bottom. So this will connect to the boom. So you can pull down on it when you're wanting to cinch the boom down. Also, take note, it's red and white. Do not get this confused with the main sheet, which is yellow and white, and the rope is much bigger. But they're very similar, so it's easy to get confused if you're not familiar. I will now remove the boom kicker. Now we have the boom kicker off. Now remember, when you replace this, how do you know which way's up and which way's down? It's easy. If you can read boom kicker, it's correct. If it looks like you need to stand on your head, you've got it wrong. So that will be the correct orientation. This would be incorrect. And again, as you can see, it connects easily right there. And then we'll connect right there. Now the next thing you do, you need to, all these lines, they're led back, we need to remove them. Now I'm going to go through these. This right here is the top lifting stay, the thing that keeps the boom up right now. If it wasn't on there, it just fall straight down and dangle from this gooseneck. This one right here is your reef line. It's going to pull the sail down like a blind to make it shorter. And this one is your out haul, which is going to tighten it. I believe I have that correct. It will tighten it along the foot. So these will stay in the boom. Don't pull these out. But as you can see, they run down. Top lifting, out haul, reef line. They then go through here in the same order. They will then run down and end up here. Again, follow the lines back. Go through these blocks up into the boom. If they're not, you'll figure these out because they only can go so many ways without them starting to get all tangled up. Also, if you take note, you can actually lock them in right here at the boom without having them ran back. But if you want to run them back, you tie that, or you slip them into right here. That way they won't cinch down. The next step we're going to do is remove the boom itself. And we do this by taking it off the gooseneck, which you'll see is bolted in right here. You remove this bolt, slide this out, and then this can freely move out from the mast. But let's look at a couple things while I'm here. When you have your mainsail on your boom, the front of it will actually attach here. A little ring. You'll take this off, put their little ring on it, attach. When you reef, there's another ring that will be up here, and when you reef, it'll come down and you just hook it into there. This right here is a sail stop. What this is good for, as you see right here, this is where your mainsail will feed. You can then move this, about to fall, up here so it won't fall out of the feed line. So while you're on the water, if you have your mainsail down, you just unscrew it and this taps in, it comes out. Just a little lock. If you lose this, you can find these on Amazon for $8 to $10. They're very cheap, but they're great little things, because without this, your sail would just come down and the sail slugs would come out of the slot and they'd be laying all over the deck. So at the end of your sail, you would move this up, lock it in, lower your mainsail. What I've done here is loosen the top lifting top stay, so the boom will sort of lower itself. This is about the maximum it will lower while connected to the gooseneck. Took the nut off, so the bolt's free. I'm going to pull that pin and then now remove it. Like I said, you want to do this very slow. The boom's very heavy. You don't want it to violently fall on the deck or someone else. So be very careful when installing and uninstalling the boom. Again, let's look at this picture, what it's going to look like. The boom is now off, and it's simply, this section goes in between here, and then, oh, where'd it go? The bolt will go into here, and you just screw on the back. So now we're going to remove this. See, this is permanently attached to the top of the boom with a block. The line runs around the block where it permanently attaches here, goes up to the block, back down into the boom, and when you pull on this, of course, it will cinch it, moving the boom up. To disconnect it, all you gotta do is untie this. We're going to remove these by simply just unsnapping them. And you can snap them back. These are the halyards. The green one is going to be your jib. The blue is your main. Here's the other end of it. You'll feed it through the blocks, over the deck organizer, down and through the clam cleats. As you can sort of figure out which way goes which. But usually the main sheet is, or not the main sheet, the main jib or the main halyard is on the inside while the jib is on the outside. So to tighten and loose these, you'll place a wrench here and then one here. Never use the screwdriver technique where you pull it in and go like this, because it will actually bend these. So you'll have one here, and the other one you'll do here to turn. Now you have the mass bolt you need to remove, and it's a simple bolt that goes through. So you have multiple washers on one side, and you just disconnect that. So this is the toughest one out of all of them, and I usually put a little safety pin in here just in case it ever did come loose and pull, because you can't visually see this every time you go sailing. But with the cramped quarters of your hand, this is the hardest one, and this is the one that will give you trouble with. One of the things I always thought was getting a longer forestay to make this easier. All right, so this is your chain plates. You got one on your starboard and your port side. They actually go down, they attach to a wooden bulkhead in the side of the boat. I always suggest, or I've always suggested on those, is removing them while the mast is down and then epoxying them. And what you'll do is get some deep penetrating epoxy. You can buy this, and I'll send you a link of what to buy. It's pretty easy stuff. You stick it in a syringe, and you'll shoot it down in there and let it soak, as if, imagine water soaking down into the wood. And what that do is make that wood solid and waterproof and pretty much invincible. And then rebed the chain plates. And rebedding is pretty easy. Tons of videos out there to do it, so that's something you can look up and talk about. But that's one of the things I suggested maybe do in the future. The other thing is replacing or refinishing the wood. And then if you're going to travel a lot, I'd get a better mast crutch, because I really don't like the way this one is, and we talked about that.